if everyone is slain and killed, have you tied your faith to an outcome? So they have to win for you to still be a strong Muslim. And if they lose, if they are all slaughtered, what happens to your faith? We have to be able to accept what may appear like a loss for the sake of a greater victory, understanding that that ultimate victory can only come by being consistently obedient during what appears to be the loss and difficulty. You know, this is what we need to do. We need to change our definition of winning, and we'll be able to handle the letdowns in life. We'll be able to handle them better, because at the end of the day, we can say to ourselves, did I stay true to my principles? Yeah, we have to teach our kids how to win and how to lose. We're gonna do what Allah tells us to do, what He encourages us to do. Forget the outcome. Who cares about the outcome? Are you obeying Allah and His Messenger? That's the way that you need to view your life. If it costs you your job, you won. If it cost you your marriage because your wife wasn't serious, or your husband wasn't serious, you won. People may say, oh, you should have been more patient. You should have been there. You could have been this. Everyone always wants to play devil's advocate. But at the end of the day, if you held on to your principles and you obeyed Allah and His Messenger to the best of your ability, and it ended up costing you a spouse, a marriage, a job, promotion, friends, and inheritance, you won. And we often don't look at it that way. But if Allah said we won, then we won. It's already done. We won. We already know we won.
Right.
But we're not. But we act like we are necessary for the win. We act like the win is still being defined.
Oh man.
No, bro.
Yeah,
you could die tomorrow, dog. Allah just replace you. It's not you. You're not that guy. As my son would say, you're not that guy, Pop. When I'm trying to show him I can still do something, he's like, Pop, you're not that guy. I'm like, you're right. So you're home safe and sound, and you're losing hope. They're dying, and their conviction is on a level that we've only read about. If anyone should be depressed, anxiety, lost hope, it should be those who are in these conflict and these war zones. They're the ones that should be hopeless. How dare you? How dare you lose hope and they haven't lost hope?
Subhanallah.
You haven't buried one child. They buried their whole family and you lost hope? Get out of my face.
ولو أن أهل القرى آمنوا واتقوا لفتحنا عليهم بركات من السماء والأرض.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yaumiddin. Brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hayyakumullah, ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum. Welcome to the Barakah Effect podcast, the podcast where we discuss on how can we achieve excellence in our career, productivity, family and deen in seeking extraordinary success in dunya and akhirah. So, alhamdulillah, hayyakumullah. We are here in Da'wah Corner Bookstore, mashallah, and we're here with our guest all the way from Brooklyn, the States, Dr. Hassan Akbar.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you for coming once again to Malaysia.
Of course, inshallah. I can't wait to be back already. I don't want to leave.
Okay.
I can't wait to come back.
You're already missing.
I'm already missing it.
Ooh.
I'm already missing it. SubhanAllah.
Mashallah. So you love Malaysia.
I do.
And on behalf of Malaysians, I like to say Malaysians love you too.
I feel it.
Yeah?
I feel it.
Mashallah.
I tell everyone
Love
back home when they tell me to describe Malaysia, I said, if somehow the government was able to take my citizenship and they said, we're putting you on a plane I will not tell them to send me back to Jamaica. They have to send me to Malaysia.
They have to send you
They're
to
like, that's.
Malaysia.
I said they have to send me to Malaysia.
All
No
right.
other, nowhere else.
Okay.
Don't send me to Mecca. Don't send me to Medina. Send me to Malaysia, brother.
That's awesome,
I
man.
got people over there.
Okay.
Good people too.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. It's awesome to hear that, man.
No,
Was
that's
food a big part to that?
good.
the local food?
Actually, you know what? I guess because I could eat anything. I'm not a real big foodie type of person where I get excited over that. But I feel like Malaysia represents both of the countries that I've grew up in. Jamaica being a tropical climate, that's Malaysia. And then, New York City with all of its skyscrapers and construction, that's Malaysia. And it's just like they took Manhattan and put it in the middle of a jungle. I love it.
Subhanallah.
I love it.
Mashallah.
You see this huge skyscrapers, and then you see a lush forest. It's all like the buildings are coming out of the forest, depending on it's beautiful. It's
Mashallah.
beautiful.
Yeah, some of these beauties we take for granted sometimes.
For granted.
Mashallah.
Y'all don't even see it.
Oh,
I'm
man.
sure.
Okay, thanks for making us see once again. So Alhamdulillah, here we are in the new place of Da'wah Corner bookstore. So if you guys recall back in season 2, we interviewed Brother Farid, who was the founder of Da'wah Corner, and mashallah, this is the place. So we'd love to probably have another interview with him once again.
Inshallah, may Allah make it easy for that.
Ameen, ameen.
Much has been improved from the ID. I mean, I used to visit the old outlet, and it's a much improved. I say it's easy to search for books, and the way that they put all the books in the they arrange it in such a way that it's so nice. You can probably, and there's a space in between that you can actually just take your time and read about the books before you actually decide to buy it.
Yeah.
Mashallah, the ambience is perfect. It's like bookstore plus library a bit.
Yeah, mashallah.
All we need is a coffee.
All we
All we
need
need
is
is
a
a
coffee.
coffee machine.
Mashallah, that's right. That's a room for
And
improvement.
then we
always.
have a sign, you spill it, you buy it. So we can increase sales.
I'm all for that shit.
You spill on the book, you
like
buy
that.
it, right?
Like that
Like
shit.
in the stores that you break it, you own it.
Oh yeah.
Spill it, you
You
buy
spill
it.
it, you buy it.
That's it.
Gotcha, man. So, Dr. Hassan, so Dr. Hassan's been here for a while. So we've been spending quite a bit of time with each other. And I think in your role as a khatib and in dealing with the youth out there, you were telling us that you always get this question about what's happening in the Middle East. And there always seems to be this feeling of despair, this feeling of are Muslims losing? So I think that's the kind of topic that we are talking about today. Are Muslims losing in the 21st century? And there's always this feeling, because right now as we speak, as we're recording, it's been more than 1 year since the mass killings that's been happening in Gaza. And people are feeling that, what are the Muslims doing? Are people not caring and all these things? And people are seeing it from the other side as well. We're losing out on all fronts, like what? From the economy, from technology. And then we see all these Islamophobic riots in the UK. So take us through it, Sheikh. Like, what did you see and what do you hear people speaking about this?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barik ala nabiyyina Muhammad amma ba'du. So this is a very interesting question. And we often do hear it, not only in person, but we all read posts that, our people within our circles put, where people look like they're in despair, they're losing hope, they don't see victory. They're becoming extremely agitated, angry, and hyper passionate, because they want to see victory. Right now, the headlight is on Gaza, but like we said, we're struggling on many fronts. But I wouldn't call it losing, right? I would just say we're struggling on many fronts. Just like the scholars wouldn't call the Battle of Uhud a loss, because the Battle of Uhud, we won the Battle of Uhud, but we ended up losing it because of our own lack of adhering to the commands of the Prophet ﷺ, specifically speaking, the archers leaving their position on the mountain caused a victory to turn into a loss, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same sense that, when we look at what's happening in the world, if we just kind of focus on Gaza right now, young people specifically, they see victory, or I like to say they have adopted a Western sense of what it means to win. And winning means achieving your objective. That's it. Whatever your goal was, Once you achieve it, you've won, right? They don't see committing to the process as a win. They don't see giving it your all as a win. You know, those are the old moral codes. You tried your best, kid. You gave it your all. You left everything in the ring. Those are the old movies. Now, if you don't achieve, you lost, right? Now we hear things like, what is second place other than the first loser?
Wow.
Right? Like, dag, like, bro, it's second place. Like, no, you're the first loser. You're the first to lose.
Wow.
So winning has, you know, really morphed into this, you know, achieving it. And if it's not achieved, then we've lost. And I tell the people, young and old, that we have to go back to our Islamic definition of what it means to win. And, you know, the Quran and the Sunnah are littered with verses and ahadith that steer us in the right direction on how to view the challenges that we face, right? You find from our tradition, whether it is in the context of war through battles, whether it is in of fighting against the shaitan, you know, we see the definition of winning has changed from the time of our pious predecessors to now. Two examples, right? We have the incident of Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal, rahimahullah. He is one of the four great imams. He would become the founder of the Hanbali madhab as carried on by his students. His son Abdullah said that when he was going through the pangs of death, going in and out of consciousness, every time he would go out of consciousness, he would say, no, no, not yet, not yet.
Not yet.
No, 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 not yet, not yet. He would come out of the consciousness. His son said to him, oh, my father, you've done so much good deeds. I mean, subhanAllah, you stood up to 3, you know, khulafa regarding the fitna of the creation of the Quran, khalqul Quran, whether the Quran is created or not. And you've done so much for this religion. Why are you saying no, not yet? Like, Allah is going to reward you for all your sacrifice and your imprisonment and your beatings. And what did he say? Imam Ahmed, he said, when I go unconscious, the shaitan comes to me and he says, yeah, Ahmed, you won. You got away from me. I thought I could get you, but you slipped from my grasp and I'm biting on my fingertips. And Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal says, and I'm responding to him to say, no, no, not yet. The battle is not over. The war is not over. Not until I die in Allah's obedience can I claim a victory, right? He wasn't willing to claim that victory. You and me in that moment be like, got you. We won, of course.
Yeah, who the man?
Yo, Abdullah, you're not going to believe this. Shaitan's crying right now. You know, we're ready to celebrate so quickly.
Right.
But his thing was, no, you're not going to catch me in this moment and get me to be prideful in this moment. Right?
So
That's what you're trying to
incite a little bit of
just a little
kibr.
bit of kibr. That's it. Just a
of
little
arrogance.
bit.
Oh, man.
If I could just get him just to acknowledge this, then, you know, then I got him.
Wow.
And Imam Ahmed's like, no, no, I'm going to adhere to these principles until Allah calls me back. Likewise, when it comes to what's happening in Gaza with our brothers and sisters in Palestine, and it's not only happening in Gaza, it's happening across Palestine.
Sure, we got the Uyghurs, we got what's happening in
Sudan.
Sudan, the world, and all of this.
Yemen.
When we look at these individuals, we cannot look at them and say they have lost. If they don't free Palestine from the river to the sea, it means they've lost. That's the wrong way of looking at it.
Wow. So they define it in a very constrained and a very kind of
Very narrow,
yeah.
very narrow way of defining it.
So on the flip side, Sheikh,
Yeah.
if Allah grant victory on that front as well, in a way to say it doesn't mean an absolute victory, right? Let's say Palestine does Allah give victory to them and they extend from the river to the sea. That does not mean you have actually won an absolute victory.
Exactly. That does not mean that. It does not mean that at all. Because Allah in the Quran defines winning extremely clearly with a very concise verse. And this is the verse that I, tell the people when I'm advising them. And I'm like, listen, Allah already has defined victory. Allah says in the Quran, بَعْدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ وَمَن يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَقَدْ فَازَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. Period. And whosoever obeys Allah and His Messenger, لَقَدْ has certainly, فَازَ won, فَوْزًا a winning, عَظِيمًا that's great. So winning and a victory for us as Muslims in every area of life is not about whether we've achieved our goals or not. It's not about whether how difficult or how hard it was. It was, have we maintained obedience and sincerity to the commands of Allah to the end? The end not even being on one's deathbed, as I mentioned with Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal, the end being your soul leaving your body.
Wow.
So if you lost, but you were able to be obedient to Allah and be a servant of Allah to the end, you won, right? When we look at the people in Surah Al-Buruj, Allah talks about them. These were the people of Yemen, and their king wanted to change their religion and make them leave their religion to follow his religion. And they refused. So what did the king do? He was Jewish. He was Jewish. He created a pit of fire. And everyone was slaughtered. Nobody got out. One person got out, went to Rome and said, the king of Yemen is killing us Christians. Send help. The Roman emperor was like, I don't have no time for that. But go to Najashi and tell him he's closer to Yemen. He can help. And Najashi sends an army, Abraha and his army, to go liberate them and to go help them. By the time they got there, it was over. Everyone was dead. And even in that surah, Allah tells us that they were all killed and massacred. And He called it a victory. Allah refers to it as a victory. Why? Because they adhered and was obedient to Allah and held on to their faith and paid the ultimate price. That's winning. Gaining control of a landmass. We're going to leave this land. We're not here forever.
I like that point.
Gaining control of a territory. And I'm not saying we give it up or we give it to them. You didn't hear me say we don't fight or resist. But don't define winning as being able to achieve our goal. Define winning as being able to resist because it's the right thing to do. We're going to do what Allah tells us to do, what He encourages us to do. Forget the outcome. Who cares about the outcome? Are you obeying Allah and His Messenger? That's the way that you need to view your life. If it cost you your job, you won. If it cost you your marriage because your wife wasn't serious or your husband wasn't serious, you won. People may say, oh, you should have been more patient. You should have been there. You could have been this. Everyone always wants to play devil's advocate. But at the end of the day, if you held on to your principles and you obeyed Allah and His Messenger to the best of your ability, and it ended up costing you a spouse, a marriage, a job, promotion, friends, and inheritance, you won. And we often don't look at it that way.
MashaAllah.
Imagine how much easier life would be if we did.
So it's like being someone short-sighted, right? If you put your ultimate goal, it's a worldly goal. So it's no different like saying someone saying like, okay, my ultimate goal in this life is to earn $2 billion. It's almost similar because you tie your life to a worldly goal.
Right.
And if you got that, doesn't mean you're successful in the end, right?
Right. The Prophet ﷺ, he had to leave Mecca and leave the Haram. Right? I mean, was that a loss when he made hijrah?
Perceived as, yeah.
You know, was it a loss? You know, and then shortly, 10 years later, he comes back and he Fath Mecca. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. You know, so subhanAllah, in the same spirit, we have to be able to accept what may appear like a loss for the sake of a greater victory, understanding that ultimate victory can only come by being consistently obedient during what appears to be the loss and difficulty. That was a big sentence. I wouldn't be able to repeat it, but that's the point.
How you maintain that laser focus, Sheikh? Like let's say, if you are so along the journey, you're hampered, you're battered, you know, and you always seem like you're in the losing end. But how to keep a clear mind that
count your gray hairs. and know that you're getting closer to your grave every day. That's how you stay focused. We're not getting younger.
So remembering death.
We're getting older. We're getting older. That's how you stay focused. If we were getting younger, if we were given lives that was 10,000 years long, I could understand how, the deception of this world. We're getting older every day. People are dying younger every day. No one's surprised to hear anyone passing away anymore. How does that not keep you focused? Look at the Prophet ﷺ. He tells us that we should remember death frequently. أكثر الذكر حادم اللذات. Why does the Prophet ﷺ tell us to remember death? So that we could be sad? So that we could be worried and be anxious? So that we could develop depression or something? Is this why? Why would he tell us, remember death frequently? Remember death frequently. The Prophet ﷺ is encouraging his ummah to remember death frequently because death is the greatest motivator. Death is the greatest motivator. There's no greater motivator. What's going to get you out of your bed to pray Fajr? I don't know if I'm going to die today.
Wow.
So let me make the Fajr just in case. Could anything else motivate you more than your own mortality?
Yeah.
This is why the Prophet ﷺ encourages us, remember your death. It's a call to action. It's a call to action.
I like that point, Sheikh. I think what you're saying about depression, talking about these things, people have that kind of impression. You think about death all the time. It's so morbid. Why are you guys speaking about something that, doesn't derive joy? But the point is, it's about being mature because that death gives you the meaning about what you're doing day to day.
Yes.
And then I like the
It gives you that fire.
Yeah, subhanAllah. I also like that verse. It reminds me about talking about process, right? وَمَا يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَقَدْ فَازَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. Whoever obeys Allah and the Messenger, it's in fi'l mudari, the present tense.
Correct.
So it's the process of obedience. It's not
Correct.
waman like ta'ah.
Then done. It's not
tense,
something that you could do.
So if
You're
you've done
always
it,
doing.
and if you're not doing it anymore,
Correct.
you're away from
And
that.
you didn't just win. You won a winning. That's amazing.
Right.
I mean, how else? Is there any other words that you could use to celebrate? In English, you would just say you won.
Okay.
Arabic is like faza, fawza, and azima. Like, boy, this is like winning. This is like big.
Right.
I know who confirms it. It's Allah Himself. See
Exactly.
that? Subhanallah.
So, this is what we need to do. We need to change our definition of winning, and we'll be able to handle the letdowns in life. We'll be able to handle them better because at the end of the day, we can say to ourselves, did I stay true to my principles? Then I could sleep. I could look myself in the mirror.
So it seems the biggest gap here, Sheikh, is that most what we see today is that they haven't really defined what is success in the first place.
Correct.
So that's why we are influenced by what people say is success.
True.
So material success,
True.
this kind of, I'm holding this, that's, okay.
True.
And because I'm not living up to those standards,
True.
I'm losing. So it seems to me that that's the biggest thing that we have to focus on. So when we educate our family, for example, this is one of the priority, looking
That's
at
right.
things the right lens.
That's right. Yeah, we have to teach our kids how to win and how to lose.
How to lose.
How to lose.
Oh,
Yeah, how to
interesting.
lose.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got to teach them how to win and we got to teach them how to lose. And subhanAllah, we were talking previously before the cameras about Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. And, they have his famous statement of, what can my enemy do to me?
Ooh,
Kill me,
yeah.
shahada.
Subhanallah.
Imprison me, I take the time to review the Quran and make dhikr. You exile me, I'll ponder over the creation of Allah. What can my enemy do to me?
Wow.
Subhanallah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
He ties every state that he could possibly be in being obedient to Allah. So in his mind, he wins regardless. Everyone else may be feeling sorry for him, but he won. You've been in prison. Alhamdulillah, I get time with the Quran. Students is not bothering me anymore. All these questions. And I get the time for the dhikr. This is better. What is more better than this? Oh, they're going to execute you. Great, shahada. Now I'm going to be behind Khalid Walid. I'm going to be behind the martyrs. I'm going to be behind Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib.
Subhanallah.
Or you exile me, even better than that. I'm going to just make da'wah and I'm going to just ponder over the creation. Allah tells me, look at the mountain, look at the trees, look at the rivers. وَفِي الْأَرْضِ آيَاتٌ لِلْمُوقِنِينَ. And if you look through the earth, you see a lot of signs for those people who have certainty. This is what we need to instill in the children. That no matter the situation, and what could be a more dire situation in those three: imprisonment, death, or exile. And yet he was able to see to still taste the sweetness of faith in all of those
In
all
those
of those
situations.
situations.
That's amazing.
MashaAllah.
Amazing.
Yeah, Sheikh, one thing
SubhanAllah.
that crossed my mind, I think we were speaking before the cameras were rolling, we spoke a bit about the Prophet Musa alayhi salam. And something that always crossed my mind was that if you live during the time of Prophet Musa, you see the oppression that's happening in Fir'aun. It's happening for years, right? It's not like we've seen it for 1 year, right? So you're probably thinking, man, we got no hope, man. Who is this Moses guy with his stick? You know? So,
Correct.
But subhanAllah, look at it, what's happening right now. I remember there was a talk once by a leader in an organization. He said, if you live during the time of the Pharaoh, do you think you'll be supporting Pharaoh or Moses? Or before you answer, let me give you perspective. Fir'aun's got the army. He's got the wealth. He's got the political power. He's got the media.
Correct.
Musa, what does he have? He's got his brother and his stick. Literally.
And he
like,
can't even talk without stammering or whatever his speech impediment was.
Subhanallah.
So he's difficult to even express himself.
Yeah. Wow. And then now he says, today, millions of people are named Musa, Moses. Nobody names themselves Fir'aun. That's amazing.
True. Very good point. SubhanAllah.
I heard this stuff here, at the point that when the children of Israel, they were cornered against the wall and had no other option, so they went to Prophet Musa and asked that Prophet Musa make dua to Allah to destroy Fir'aun. And I think Prophet Musa made the dua, right, Sheikh? But Ibn Kathir say that Allah only destroyed Fir'aun and answered by answering Prophet Musa's dua 40 years later. Meaning he made that dua, but he had the patience and persevere to just wait, to trust the process.
SubhanAllah, right.
And eventually, Allah answered his dua 40 years later. Wow. And
Allah answered it. Allah will answer their dua in the moment. It just takes 40 years for it to materialize.
MashaAllah,
I like
subhanallah.
that. Yes.
He answered it in a moment.
Yeah.
You know, we ask Allah, oh Allah, grant me and my wife a child. Allah answered that. She still got to conceive. It's still got to take 9 months before you get that baby in your hand, right?
Yeah.
But it's a supplication that you and I made the day we got married, right? Or the day that, you married your wife, or the day whatever.
Subhanallah.
It reminds me of a statement that is attributed to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, in which he said, radiyallahu anhu, what people fail to realize is that Allah has a plan, but his plan takes time. So for Allah, whom time is not a reality for him, right? He's not governed by time. A year, 10,000 years, a million years, none of that means nothing to Allah.
That's a good one.
For him to execute a plan over what for us may feel like a long period of time is the challenge. But we have to understand that Allah's operating in a whole nother realm. When the day of judgment begins, time, there is no more concept of time, right? There's no day and there's no night, there's no years. It's eternity, eternal bliss or eternal damnation, right? So the problem is being here on this earth and having to deal with the reality of time and waiting for things to play out. I think one of the greatest lessons that we don't talk about enough when it comes to all of the trials of the prophets and messengers, and maybe there should be a book written on this, is related to how long they had to wait for victory. Or put a slash on that, how long they suffered before overcoming their challenge.
Wow.
What I mean by that is the Prophet ﷺ and his companions, we know that they were driven out and boycotted by Quraysh. And it was very difficult for them because they were driven out of Mecca pretty much in the open desert. And, they faced that for over 2 years, the boycott. No one bought from them. No one could marry them. They struggled, And some of the scholars, they say this negatively impacted the health of Khadija and Abu Talib. Thus, when the boycott was over, had ended, they died shortly thereafter. Like in that year, he lost both of them. Wow. They say a part of it was the difficulty the challenge of the boycott. The point is that if you and I were exiled, right, or boycotted for a week, we'd be like, Allah, am I not doing what you asked me to do?
subhanallah.
Allah, give me the victory. A month, we'd be like, okay, inshallah, I'm not going to lose hope. I'm going to just keep praying. 3 months, all right, you know what? Ramadan's around the corner. Maybe his turn is going to, maybe I'm going to turn the corner in Ramadan. And then after the year, it's like, bro, you're not going to come and pray? Like, yeah, I'll come and pray, either just out of habit or out of not wanting to be destroyed. But subhanAllah, Allah made the Prophet ﷺ wait in that and sit in that terrible situation for 2+ years.
Yes.
Ayub
Yeah.
alayhi salam lost his family, lost his health, lost his wealth. And he was in that position. If you read the stories of the prophets, his wife said to him one day, when are you going to make dua to Allah to change the situation? Like, we lost it all. We don't have our kids. We don't have our wealth. You have this leprosy. People are avoiding you. We don't have position anymore. And Ayub says to his wife, how many years did Allah give us ease? She said 7. He said, how many years have we been struggling? She said 6. He said, I'm shy to ask and complain to my Lord when he has given us 7 years of ease and only 6 years of difficulty.
Oh, man. SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah.
Allah kept his prophets in 6 consecutive years of difficulty.
Wow.
And if me and you had 6 bad days, we ready to throw the towel in?
SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah.
We got to get our priorities together. We do not have it right. We do not have our priorities right. We do not appreciate struggle. We do not understand that, the wisdom of it and the reality and the necessity of hardships. I guess because of our smartphones, when there's a problem, we just restart. You can't restart life. Can't restart the problems that we have in life. Yeah. Some of these problems that we're going to face, we're going to have to sit through for some time.
Yeah.
Are you prepared for that? Are these real conversations that we're having? Or are we just walk alive thinking to ourselves, it won't happen to me.
Yeah.
Even though we don't say it, but our actions are like, nah, not me.
Yeah. Sheikh, when you mentioned the boycott of the 3 years that happened to the Prophet ﷺ, Banu Hashim, one thing that crossed my mind in the real sense, what we are facing through, is when we went through COVID. SubhanAllah, that one situation made so much despair to the point where depression went up, suicide rate
all
went up.
that.
Oh, SubhanAllah. But we were sitting
Great
at
point.
home. We could eat very
Great
well.
point.
We had technology.
Great point.
We had our families with us.
Yeah.
And this is what happened. SubhanAllah.
Great point. Yeah, exactly.
This is quite profound when we think about, oh man.
It is. And again,
spoiled.
easier said than done, right? I don't want to give off the idea of oh, wow, so he can handle. I don't want no stress and I don't want no smoke, right? So we're not asking for difficulty or hardship, and we're not pretending that we're tough guys. The point is that as Muslims, we're supposed to give the right advice and the right answer, advising one another. وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. That's what we're doing here.
Inshallah.
Advising one another with the truth, advising one another with patience. If the hardship comes, who knows how any of us are going to be?
Right.
But the point is, and one of the aims and objective of this podcast is to give tools to the community in their life, and that's what we're trying to do here. So no one's here trying to be a tough guy or pretend like we have the answers or we can handle it better, and we don't stress or we don't feel certain things. No, it is our imperative. It is our duty that when we're advising one another, we give each other the best answers.
I think this is very important because I think you're stronger as a community, right? If you advise one another. And just to tie to the you brought the story of Al Buruj, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. One of the stories behind that, one of the last person that's going to be thrown into the pit was a mother and a child, right?
Correct.
And the mother was about to give in,
Right.
But she was advised,
Given as in she was about to
protect her
denounce
child
the
and not go in because she had a young baby.
Right,
She didn't want the baby to die.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the advice came from the
Baby.
child.
Allah made the child speak.
SubhanAllah.
That's right. Allah made the child speak in that moment and said, "Mother, jump in. It's cool." And she jumped in, right? She wasn't fearing for herself, but she was fearing for the child. But that's that still happened. They all died. When I gave the khutbah after the Gaza situation, and it's still happening, I gave a khutbah and I was like, If they all die, they won. Understand, Allah has given us this example in the Quran. Allah has told us about the people. And He gave us a story of believers and they all died. Are you guys ready for that? Or are you guys going to turn on your heel and not believe anymore and not have conviction and not have certainty because we didn't free Palestine? Where are you guys at? Right? Similar to when the Prophet ﷺ passed away and everybody started panicking and fainting and falling all over. And Umar was, I'm going to kill anyone who says that he died. He went away like Musa went away.
Right.
And Abu Bakr as-Siddiq had to come and, read an ayah that for most of them, they said it was like the first time hearing it. Many messengers were slain and killed before. If he is slain and killed, will you turn back on your heels? That's the question. So I understand that we want to free Palestine in this context. And again, we could be talking about Sudan. We could be talking about Kashmir. We could be talking about so many different conflicts in the world, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't want people to say that, we're only talking about one and we're avoiding the other.
Sure.
But the point is, if everyone is slain and killed, have you tied your faith to an outcome? So they have to win for you to still be a strong Muslim. And if they lose, if they are all slaughtered, what happens to your faith?
Wow.
SubhanAllah. I like that point, Sheikh. Like taking lessons from the sad things that's happening. Like a bit of a personal story. But I was trying to build a furniture which I bought. It's a DIY. So I got frustrated, and I started talking to the furniture in some
Harsh
way.
Right.
I always pay somebody to do that. I can't do that. I'm not building nothing anymore. But go ahead.
Well, my kid told me, like, Pa, the Palestinian people, their patients are not like this. I said, like, yes, man. Those are gold-plated patients. Like, mashallah, like, subhanallah, like sometimes we read patients from the seerah, and we say, okay, these are the patient. I can do that. Subhanallah, now you see real example. What does that gold-plated patient is?
Subhanallah.
And then you get yourself, subhanallah, where am I, man? I'm like like with this piece of furniture,
Correct.
I'm losing it right now.
Correct.
Subhanallah.
Yeah, it's subhanallah. It's very true.
I got like that when I lost my GPS signal one time.
Yes.
then that got me thinking, oh man, you lose your GPS signal, you lose your Wi-Fi, and that triggers you, huh?
Was that when I was trying to follow you home the other day?
I think
because
it
you
was.
kept making different turns.
Oh,
I'm like,
man,
I'm gonna
it's
go
so
with the brother
bad.
over technology. I'm gonna trust my brother over the technology.
Takbir, the best time to make takbir.
Then he made another turn. I was like, yo, the GPS says 13 minutes. Every turn he make, this thing is going up. I'm
Going
following
up.
him. I'm like, you know what? Bismillah, he on his own.
Okay.
I'm going to take my chances in the street of Kuala Lumpur. I'm going to find a way to get home.
Good call.
Man, I got home like
Good call,
this.
Sheikh. Good call, Sheikh.
I wrote him. He didn't even look at the message or nothing. I'm like,
Yeah.
he's from here. He got it.
Yeah. Nah, I don't. I was GG, Sheikh. And they say, the young guys say GG, right?
Oh, God. Subhanallah.
SubhanAllah. Yeah, Sheikh, I like one point that you said about how Ayub was putting it into perspective, like they had so much good life and then there was that one period of time. I think that also reminds us that when we're going through hard times as an ummah, it's just one snapshot of time.
Correct.
It might be our entire lifetime, but this
Exactly.
is... Yeah.
Exactly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله. In one ayah he says وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ. In another ayah he says وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ شَهِيدًا. I mean, come on now. I mean, once you understand this, there is no bad news. You know how they say like there's no bad press for certain individuals, politically speaking, and even for Islam. No matter how bad they misrepresent us, people still embrace Islam.
SubhanAllah.
When it comes to this life, no matter what losses we appear to take, Allah has already said, I have sent my messenger with the religion of truth, and it will supersede and surpass and overcome every way of life. وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ شَهِيدًا. And Allah is enough of a witness to this. Back to what you just said. In our lifetime, we may not see that reality. In our kids' lifetime, they may not see that reality. وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ شَهِيدًا. Allah is enough of a witness because Allah is al-hayy. He doesn't die. So He's going to live, obviously, and exist to see this come about, where Islam dominates the entire world and conquers all ways of life. Right? Peacefully, without terrorism, without a sword, without a gun, right? Just opening and freeing minds. Islam's dominance on the world will come about. Allah has said it's going to come about. So what are we getting caught up for in what appears to be small losses? This is how I stay hopeful. Allah already said that we already won. Imagine Allah's like, listen, we won, right? And you're there like, yo, we're down 5,000 points. But if Allah said we won, then we won. It's already done. We won. We already know we won.
Right.
But we're not. But we act like we are necessary for the win. We act like the win is still being defined.
Oh man.
No, bro.
Yeah, subhanallah.
You could die tomorrow, dog. Allah just replace you. It's not you. You're not that guy. As my son would say, you're not that guy, Pop. When I'm trying to show him I can still do something, he's like, Pop, you're not that guy. I'm like, you're right. You're right, Zach. You're right. I'm not that guy. You're right. It's already done. You know who those people are? Those people are the Mahdi, Isa. Those are the game changers. Those guys, when they come on the scene, everything change. Now, does that mean that we don't do anything? No, because we know that the religion is going to succeed. The question we have to ask ourselves is, are we going to be positive reflections of that success? Or are we going to be, hindering and delaying that eventuality? This is where we look at ourselves. Where did, oh, wow, so this is what happened in World War. Well, no, forget World War. There's a lot of wars that happened in Malaysia I've been learning about. When the Japanese were here and all that, Dad, what did you do when the Japanese were here? What story you want to tell your kids? How did you live your life? Islam is going to win already, with or without us. Islam's going to win.
So what did you do?
So what did we do?
Wow.
So it's like in Malaysia, we are proud of our Twin Towers. And nobody's can claim that I built the whole thing from scratch to finish. But even though if you just install the window rails for maybe one floor, see, that big towers?
Exactly.
I installed the rail for
There you
windows.
go. I know there's some father telling his kid that he heard that 100 million times already, but the father's going to keep saying it, and it's still going to be impressive.
Exactly. The goal is that the path to success is there. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to be part of the process?
That's it.
Or against it? Yeah.
That's it. But it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Or you're thinking or you're just going to sit down and not wanting a single share out of that success.
Come on.
SubhanAllah.
That's it. You guys got it right. You guys are hitting the mark. But it's going to happen. So that's done. So, inshallah, it's just, at the end of the day, going back to, what we said again, that victory is already done. It's written. It's done. We won. Guess what? We won.
In the past tense.
Yeah, we won.
Yeah.
It's already done. It's already done.
SubhanAllah.
I like that, Sheikh, because we recite these verses, right? But when you put it this way, right, wakafa billahi shahida gives a totally different meaning, right? Done deal, bro. It's
done.
sealed.
It's done.
It's gonna happen.
It's done.
I love it. And Sheikh, I think I've been reading up a bit about signs of the last day, and growing up, we used to learn these stories, and it kind of gives that bleak. When you read about what happens when the Dajjal comes out, there's kind of like this bleak kind of, oh man, it is bleak.
Post-apocalyptic type.
Oh yeah, post-apocalyptic stuff, man. Like worse than the science fiction stuff that we see, worse than some zombie stuff, right? Subhanallah. But the end of the story, the victory that happens there is such a huge victory, right?
Right.
And I think that's so amazing. Like that victory is already planted there. And then now the question is come back to that question. The practical question is, what role are you playing to prepare for that guys who defeat the Dajjal. I love that, man.
I mean, we say this, trigger the point that you say about the children of Israel. I think that one of the things that we pick up, we were discussing before the start of the podcast, is they refuse to enter the sacred city, right?
Correct.
Even though Allah has promised them victory.
That's it.
So are we not taking any lessons from that?
Right.
Are we not thinking like Allah has promised us victory? Are we not going to jump into the wagon?
Allah promised them victory because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. That didn't change the victory because Allah gave the hands of victory to Yusha bin Nun. Right? The one who inherited after Musa and Harun, Yusha bin Nun. So Allah said, okay, no problem. Wander through the desert, all of y'all I'm killing all of y'all off. Not with no plague, not with the snap of a finger, over time. Remember, we keep coming back to this time element. 40 years wandering through the desert. Allah is purifying Bani Israel, removing those who refuse to adhere and to be a part of that process. He said, all right, now that you guys are all gone, I already told y'all gonna win. So now it's gonna happen at the hand of Yusha bin Nun and Bani Israel. And they get it, they win. SubhanAllah, they won, didn't they? They conquered and they went in. And whatever, the story continues, but the point is that he already promised them victory and it happened. Like, not in that moment, but it happened already. And so Allah has already promised us victory. So that's it. So it's done. What's there to be depressed about? The only thing is missed opportunities. That's the only thing that we could be depressed about. You know, I had an opportunity. I wasted my youth. I wasted, money. I wasted my time. That's it.
I think also, Sheikh, I think we spoke about this before. There's also another danger that when we don't define this victory in the right way, when we lose hope in the mercy of Allah, we are the one at risk of losing ourselves, whereas the ones that are being killed, they are achieving victory.
Correct.
When on perception wise, we're sitting comfortably, but because we've lost our faith, I think that's a huge thing that we kind of forget, that losing hope in mercy part.
It's something that makes me angry, in the sense of, so you're home safe and sound, and you're losing hope. They're dying, and their conviction is on a level that we've only read about. If anyone should be depressed, anxiety, lost hope, it should be those who are in these conflict and these war zones. And I say conflict and war zones because I'm not only talking about Palestine, I'm talking about Sudan and these other places as well. They're the ones that should be hopeless. How dare you? How dare you lose hope and they haven't lost hope?
Subhanallah.
You haven't buried one child. They buried their whole family and you lost hope? Get out of my face.
Subhanallah.
How dare you? You don't have a right. You don't have a right to lose nothing. When that mother that we see in Palestine and in Gaza, who's buried her children, or fathers are carrying their dead children and saying, Alhamdulillah, don't you dare talk about hope. I lost hope. I'm not sure. I'm sad. You're sad and they're celebrating. Nah, you don't have a right. You're making this all about you. Obviously, you think the world revolves around you and it doesn't. And I'll be the first to tell you. And I will take a little bit of pleasure in it if it hurts your feelings, because your feelings need to be hurt. We're too privileged.
SubhanAllah. Yep. So Sheikh, one more question. I mean, this is something I hear a lot as well, especially among the city dwellers. So a lot of, when I talk about despair, they look at the material things. So they look at, for example, we're losing in a sense where economically we're losing, technology-wise we're losing, the so-called powers that be, they are controlling the media. So people always look at it from that angle.
Correct.
So how do we look at it from a different way? Like,
I don't necessarily want to look at it from a different way, right? We are losing in those areas, but we haven't lost. Remember, we went back to winning, right? Winning is an outcome. You won. And the opposite of that is loss. I'm saying the believer, he wins. But losing, that's possible that we're losing on a front, right? But we haven't lost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So yeah, we are losing economically, we're losing in the science, we're losing. And these areas and sectors, we need to do better. We can do better, and we need to do more. That's for sure. And we're not gonna pray our way out of those situations. I was driving in the car here in Malaysia, looking for some food or some tea or whatever I was trying to do. And I heard the Prime Minister, Anwar Ibrahim, was at Al-Azhar, and he said that the Muslim community needs to make investments in math, science, and technology, and STEM, and in banking, and in AI, and in environmental studies, because we are falling behind. And I was like, wow, either I'm understanding Malay or this program just was in English, because I swear I was listening to a Malay station before. But I'm sure they went to English to make the news announcement. But I was really impressed with the Prime Minister. I was like, you know what? He wasn't talking about like we in Malaysia have to do this. He was at Azhar and talking about the Muslim globally. The Muslim world, we must invest in STEM.
MashaAllah. Yeah.
We must invest in technologies. We have to reinvest again in science. We have to reinvest in AI. We have to invest in our banking and strengthen ourselves. I was like, that's the language that our enemies don't want to hear. They want Malaysians to think about Malaysia. They want Egyptians to think about Egypt. They want everyone to think about their own interests. But our one element of our success is this global identity that we share,
that we have.
that we have. Yep, that we have. Yeah. I'll be optimistic with you. Yeah, we have it. Yeah, that we have. That's right. I like that.
Exactly. Because why say we have? Because when we go to Masjid Haram, when we pray, nobody rehearse.
Yeah,
And by just the instruction of the Imam, Allahu Akbar, everybody does the same movement.
correct.
So it's there, just need to be further refined
Yeah,
and
that's right.
enhanced.
Beautiful.
Nice. MashaAllah. So I think we're gonna some final words before we close this topic, Sheikh.
Final word. I'm never good at this final words thing. I'm never good at this final words in this area. I always feel, just a side note, I'll give like a really good sermon, right? And then they'll be like, then they pass the microphone to everybody, and then they go, Imam, just a few more words. Just say some closing statements. And I'm like, yo, you just ruined it. I killed. Now you're gonna have me make it up in a moment, and I just killed.
Okay.
So I would say, let's move about and just take some takeaways.
Yeah.
What is a point that you like to highlight from our conversation, or revisit, and then I'll make a point, and then you'll make a point, because I feel like we all did really well.
MashaAllah.
So,
So for me, it's really understanding your objective in life. I mean, it's fine that you set tangible, worldly objective, but the ultimate objective must be on the hereafter, where that's the ultimate victor. And always stay focused on achieving that ultimate goal. And you'll find challenges along the way, but know that there are examples, not just from the Quran and the Sunnah, but from our Muslims living nowadays or in the past. They have overcome that, and you're not the only person exclusively having this problem. And you see how they persevere, and inshallah, make dua that Allah make you strong as well to achieve that final goal.
correct. You want to say something?
We covered a lot, alhamdulillah.
We did.
I think I love the point of redefining what it means to succeed. I love the point of looking at it from the lens that we might lose battles here and there, but there's another war that we failed to define in the first place. I also relate strongly to the point that we're seeing one snapshot in victory, and it recalls a lot of things in the past where when we look at Islamic history, if you lived during those times, you think that was the end of the world. There was like the invasion of the Mongols, I believe. If you lived back then, you would think that they were Ya'juj, and you think that this is it, man.
Right.
This is the end.
Right.
But here we are, like hundreds of years later, right? SubhanAllah. So I think we could be seeing another one of those cycles.
Yeah.
And I like that point as well, that it might not happen in our lifetime, might not happen in our children's lifetime, but planting the seeds, getting in motion
Right.
the ummah that will succeed and the one who will support Isa on that day. I think that gives me a lot of motivation. So I think maybe I guess it's this way. So now, how can we, the closing what I'd like to hear from that is when Muslims are feeling this inferiority complex, that they feel that they are being bullied by the West, and they're feeling, so what are some reminders on how they can no longer feel this inferiority complex?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question as it relates to, our self-worth and self-value and identity. And, my response to that may be a little bit different than another person. Self-worth is self-worth, right?
Self-worth is self-worth.
Self-worth.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that maybe the world may see the Muslim community as not having much value, but who cares what the world views you as? It's called self-worth. How do you view yourself? And if you view yourself as inferior, it is based on what markers? They better be based on things that are tangible, not based upon what others think. Because what others think is objective. It's subjective. It's their opinion. So when a person says, I don't feel like I have self-worth, it's like, okay, well then what are those markers? If it's in the area of health, you can do something about that. Start getting fit. If it's in the area of finance, you could do something about that. If it's in the area of spirituality, you could do something about that. Anything that a person feels inferior to, Allah has given us the tools to do something about that and to shape it. But if you're tying your worth to external factors, you're always going to have a problem, right? Because you're seeing Muslims lose in Gaza, and so now you feel like a loser. I was working, and there was this brother. He's not even a brother. He's not even a Muslim to me. He came over to me and he was like, oh, I want to ask you a question. I'm like, what's up? He's like, Muslims are losing here, Muslims are losing there, Muslims are doing this, and Muslims are this, and Muslims are that. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, and so if we were on the right religion, and if we were God's, the people that Allah are pleased with, why is he letting other people win and he's making us suffer? And right before I was even able to give him a response, he was like, I don't actually want a response. I just wanted to just say that.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, you got it off your chest. That's great. Can we get back to work? Because I didn't care I was just going to say something to help you out. That don't do nothing for me. That if you thought that was going to like mess me up or like get me worried or be like, rattle me like, wait, hold on, we're taking all these losses. I mean, look at our history, I mean, my people were enslaved 350 years in the worst form of slavery ever created, chattel slavery. You talk about hopeless, don't have a country, don't have a language, don't have a religion. You don't even have the rights to your wife. The master could come and say, I got company tonight. Your wife is going to keep them company. And then he sends her back to you. You have a child and your child's holding your leg. And he goes, yeah, I just sold her. I just sold him. They're going to different farms. They're going to different plantations. It can't get any worse than that. Whatever you're describing can't get any worse than that. And they made it through. Yes. And side note, this Muslim brother, he wrote a book on he
actually wrote a book?
Yeah, it was a white convert. He's a historian, and he wrote a book on America. What's the name of the title? It's called like Muslims in America. It's called Muslims in America. And one of the stats that I didn't know was that it is estimated that over 60% of those enslaved were Muslims. And so the point that he makes is that they say that Muslims are terrorists when the Muslims were being terrorized from the beginning. Wow. SubhanAllah,
Makes so much perspective.
And I think to myself, like, wow, over 60% of these enslaved Africans who are our ancestors, my ancestors, were Muslim. They don't have their religion. Can't hold on to their diet. They can't hold on to their language or nothing. How many of them in the night just made dua like, oh Allah, save their deen, like save their religion, like guide them. I can't teach them anything because that is going to be that punishable by death or lashing or thing. But oh Allah, make a way, right? And now, 350 years later, you find African Americans are the easiest people to bring into Islam. And I attribute that, I'm like, our ancestors must have been praying hard for us to come back, because Allah has just made it so easy for us. Like, we're just waiting for the guidance to come to us. And it has to be the dua of someone way back worrying for his progeny. And look how we have come into the religion, and we could name them, and Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X and Mike Tyson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and everyone who's present and everyone who's in the past. You could just see just a floodgate come in. You know, so I say all that to say, you have to take control of what you decide as be your self-worth. I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not going to tell you how to feel better if you're feeling bad because of what's happening on a global scale. I'm here to advise you on how to make the right decisions for yourself so that you could feel happy about yourself. And it's all within your control. It's all within your control. I'm not going to sit here and pamper anyone. It's all within your control. You want to get closer to Allah? Do it. You want to be a better father? Do it. You want to be a better husband? Do it. Whatever it is that's causing you grief, Allah has given you the tools to change it. Inshallah. So unless you're asking me some advice on that, I could advise you on that. Other than that, I'm not going to sit here and rub your back. You have your mother for that, or your wife. You could go to her and cry to her about how you feel, your self-worth. I don't have no time for that.
MashaAllah. I can't think of a better way to end. This is a perfect ending.
Alhamdulillah.
Hit the nail on the coffin, inshallah. So alhamdulillah, that wraps up our conversation. So that brings a totally different paradigm. We started this conversation by asking, are Muslims losing in the 21st century? And clearly this brings a totally different paradigm to that. So may Allah Azza wa Jal make us amongst those who achieve that great success, that fawzan azima.
Exactly.
And make us continuously obey him and the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. So we'll see you in the next episode. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.